Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2021 IAEE Award ceremony. I am Christophe Bonnery, the 2019 President of the International Association for Energy Economics and the Chairman of the IAEE Award Committee. This year, the Award Committee is composed of Axel Pierru from Knapp in Saudi Arabia, Adonis Yachu from Canada, Christian Stedt from Romania, David Knapp from USA, and myself. Due to the pandemic, the present award ceremony could only be presented in virtual mode as opposed to the previous ceremonies. Due to the pandemic also, the 2020 award ceremony could not take place. For that reason, we have combined this year the 2020 and the 2021 award ceremonies. This ceremony will present the following awards: the award for the outstanding contribution to the profession of energy economist, the journalism award, the award for the outstanding contribution to the IAEE, the award for the Energy Journal Best Paper, the award for the IP Best Paper, the award for the 2019 Best Working Paper, and the new Marcel Boiteux International Award for the best book in energy economics. These awards will successively be presented by David Knapp, the 2018 President of the IAEE, by Michael Pollitt, Professor of Business Economics at the Judge Business School in the University of Cambridge, and Colin Vance, Professor of Quantitative Methods and Psychology Methods at Jacob University. I wish you an exciting award ceremony. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure to present the award for the outstanding contribution to the profession of energy economists. It is a great honor for me to award the IAEE Prize for the outstanding contribution to the field of energy economics and its literature to Oisung Lee. Oisung Lee is chairman of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, since 2015. As such, you played a key role in supplying decision-makers and the public with the most authoritative scientific understanding of climate change. I personally admire your fight to limit the global warming to 1.5 degrees. You have been identified in 2019 by the Time magazine as one of the 100 most influential people of the world. It is also a great pleasure for me to observe that you were president of the IAEE 20 years exactly before me in 1999. Professor Oisung Lee, the floor is yours.
Dave Knapp, Christophe Bonnery, Dave Williams, and colleagues of IAEE. It's good to meet you all and a great honor to receive the IAEE Outstanding Contributions to the Professional World. When I look at the list of past winners, I'm truly humbled. And as chair of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, it is most encouraging to recall that a previous winner was one of my predecessors, Rahendra Pachauri, in 2007, the year the IPCC was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize after our fourth assessment report was released. This IAEE award gave me a moment to briefly look back on myself from day one of my professional life as an economist at one of the multinational oil companies headquartered in Houston, Texas. I remember that crude oil price was then $12 per barrel, a historically high level right after the first oil crisis, but in real terms about the same as the current $60+ per barrel. It was a time before the IAEE or USAEE was created, but in Houston there were a small group of economists associated with oil and gas companies having a monthly luncheon dialogue to discuss issues of energy, economy, and politics. This group later grew into establishing a Houston chapter for IAEE and USAEE. We believed then that oil would rule forever. No one had the slightest doubt about the future of oil and gas. There wasn't any factor that would hamper the growth of oil demand. The word climate change did not exist in the conversation. Everything has changed since then. Although oil prices in real terms are the same as those when I began my career, last year futures prices went below zero, unheard of in oil's history. Peak oil now means oil demand peaking. The risk of oil and gas assets now signifies the risk of those assets being stranded. Climate change has changed everything. It has produced the Paris Agreement, which set the goal of limiting global warming below 2 degrees and pursuing 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial temperatures. It led the IPCC to provide the scientific basis for CO2 net zero emissions by 2050 to limit global warming within 1.5 degrees, which led many countries to proclaim achieving a carbon-neutral economy by 2050. Energy accounts for over 2/3 of global greenhouse gas emissions. This means that energy must be at the heart of any solution for climate change. The members of the IAEE contribute to our understanding of climate change and the work of the IPCC through their publications as well as their work as authors and reviewers of the IPCC reports. I hope that the award I'm accepting today will encourage members of the IAEE to continue these contributions in the future. I also hope that both works of the IPCC and the IAEE will contribute to facilitating transition to a society and economy compatible with the limits of the services nature provides. I believe this would be the change we need to have next. Thank you for your attention.
Hello all. My name is David Knapp. Some of you will remember me from the 2018 presidency. And since then, I have overseen the awards committee for a couple of years. So I have two things to do today. The first is I want to add my congratulations to my old friend Ho-Sung Lee, who has provided a huge impetus for the organization in Asia and across the world, has made major contributions to the whole discipline of energy economics, and I applaud his and congratulate him for his award. But most importantly, as head of the awards committee, I have the pleasure to present the award for excellence in energy journalism to a colleague of mine for almost 2 decades at Energy Intelligence, Jim Washer, also a very good friend. He has gone through all levels of journalism, from early reporting up through editing, most importantly, bringing the flagship publication for Energy Intelligence, Petroleum Intelligence Weekly, into the electronic era. He also managed the entire editorial area before leaving to join Petroleum Argus a couple of years ago, where he is the managing editor. So, Jim, congratulations on the award. Well earned. You've taught me a lot. You've also been a good audience on some of the things that hopefully helped you move along your career path. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David, and thank you to everyone at the IAEE for this award. It really is a great honour, particularly when I look back at the roll call of former winners, which includes so many former colleagues of mine: Margaret McQuail, Neil Fleming, Barbara Shook, Tom Wallin, Sarah Miller, as well as David Knapp himself, of course. I'll be celebrating 30 years as a journalist later this year. I think celebrate is the right word. And I'd like to just say thank you to a few people who provided me with a lot of help and guidance over those 3 decades. Starting with the late, great Jim Trotter Platts, who gave me my first break in the early 1990s. And to my colleagues there, Margaret, Neil, John Kingston, I think I've already mentioned, also Jacinta Moran, Bob Donato, all of whom really helped me to develop as a young journalist. At Bridge in the early 2000s, I was lucky enough to work with the great Mona Magali and also with Andy Home, who was a great support to me as my boss. I've also got to thank my many, many friends and former colleagues at Energy Intelligence, where I spent nearly 19 years. So my old London colleagues, Mike Ritchie, Jane Collin, Peter Kemp, the late Axel Bush, Paul Sampson, Jill Janola, Christina Katsouris, Ronan Kavanagh, Deb Kelly. In the US, Tom Wallin, who was a great mentor to me, John Van Schaik, Paul Moroli, Clara Tan, Oliver Klaus, Nelly Sharashkina, Casey Merriman, and of course the current leadership there, Alex Schindler, David Pike and Raja Sadawi. I also want to thank my new colleagues at Argus. Thank you to Adrian Binks for giving me this chance, and to Neil Fleming, who I'm working with again, for helping steer me through my first year, and to all the other very fine journalists I'm working with there. It's great to be part of the team. I'd like to just conclude by saying a few words about this award itself. It's really greatly to the IAEE's credit that they continue to support this award, which has a history now stretching back nearly 40 years, and that they continue to celebrate robust independent energy journalism. Because I think we're living through a strange time for journalists and for journalism at the moment. Never before in human history has there been so much information available so easily to so many people, but never before either, I fear, has there been such skepticism about the reliability of much of that information. There's still people around who don't believe COVID is real, despite the tragedies we've seen and continue to see. And that makes it all the more important to value and to nurture robust independent journalism. And it's particularly important, I think, that we continue to do that in energy. We're approaching an energy transition that is going to have huge implications for the future of the planet. And the only way we're going to navigate the right path through all that change is to have a clear understanding of the facts and the choices, free from the PR spin and the advocacy of certain groups who want the future to turn out in a certain way. And to do that, we're going to need robust, independent energy journalism. It's not an easy sector to cover. There's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of competition, but it's vitally important that we continue to do it and we continue to do it well. So thank you again to the IAEE for this award, and thank you for celebrating, and let's keep celebrating, robust, independent journalism.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure to present the award for the outstanding contribution to our association. From time to time, the IAEE presents an award for the outstanding contribution to the association. For these years, 2020 to 2021, the committees, chaired by David Knapp and myself, have identified a personality who has served the association well beyond most. This professor of economics who lives in the USA is in fact a true Australian and a friend. He has served the association in many capacities. He served successively the IAEE as USAE Council member as of 2007, as president of the USAE in 2012, as IAEE Council member as of 2013, and as president of the IAEE in 2015. He will, in a rare case of our institution, become president of the IAEE again in 2022. This person, you have guessed, is Peter Hartley. Congratulations and thank you, Peter. Peter, the floor is yours.
First, I thank the Awards Committee for making this award. I'm very pleased to think that they have judged my contributions to the IAEE to be worthy. It is a little different, I must say, to being questioned by some colleagues when I first got involved in USAE and then IAEE councils as to why I was, quote, wasting my time on such an endeavour. Along those lines, I also would like to thank my department and my university and my wife Kathy for supporting my involvement in the USAE and its local Houston chapter, and then the IAEE. I could not have devoted time and energy to such service without their support. Second, I would have to say to my colleagues who are sceptical of my involvement with the USAE and the IAEE councils that those experiences have deepened my connections with the wider community of energy economists and policymakers and professionals in the energy industry. I have formed many rewarding and lasting friendships through IAEE and its affiliates. I've also travelled more extensively and learned much more about energy policy issues around the world than I otherwise would have. I've also gotten to know much better people who have different perspectives, backgrounds, and opinions on energy issues. This has not only benefited my research, but has also helped me have a more rounded perspective, be more engaged with real-world issues, and contributed to my personal development. One thing I obtained from my life as an academic is continually interacting with young people, seeing and hearing new ideas and having my ideas and viewpoints challenged. While that is great, it also only infrequently touches on my research in energy economics. Involvement with the IAEE has extended these benefits of my career choice by providing an intellectually vibrant community of people of all ages and backgrounds who are more specifically focused on energy issues. Last but not least, I would also like to take this opportunity to thank especially Dave Williams Jr. and Rebecca Lilly for their support of all the official positions I've had at USAE and IAEE. All the council tasks I've undertaken would have been much, much more burdensome without their unfailing dedication, efforts, and support. I also am extremely pleased to count them as friends. I sincerely hope that the looming divorce between IAEE and AMS is amicable and that our association continues to benefit from their wealth of experience, knowledge, and management expertise. Thank you very much.
Hello, I am Michael Pollitt, the Vice President for Publications of the International Association for Energy Economics, or IAEE. It is my great pleasure to virtually present the 2019 award for the Campbell Watkins Energy Journal Best Paper in the Energy Journal. This award is given annually to the best paper in the IAEE's flagship academic journal. The 2019 award was due to have been presented at last year's conference in Paris, which was unfortunately cancelled due to COVID-19. This 2019 award is being given to the best open submission paper in the regular 2019 issues of the Energy Journal. The selection committee was made up of Mika Goto, Ying Fan and myself, and we really enjoyed reading the candidate papers for this award, which were of very high quality. We selected the best paper on the basis of relevance for policymakers, scientific quality and originality. We are delighted to present the 2019 award for the best paper in the Energy Journal to Dorothy Charlier and Sondes Kahuli for their paper entitled From Residential Energy Demand to Fuel Poverty, Income-Induced Non-Linearities in the Reactions of Households to Energy Price Fluctuations. You can watch a short video where Dorothy Charlier introduces their excellent paper. On behalf of the International Association for Energy Economics, very well done, and thank you for submitting your paper to the Energy Journal.
Hi, I'm Dorothy Charlier, assistant professor at University Savoie-Mont-Blanc. I focus my research on energy efficiency in the residential sector, and more specifically, I study the drivers of energy consumption and energy efficiency renovations. During the last years, I also addressed several issues related to energy transition, such as the nexus between air quality, indoor and outdoor air quality, health and wealth accumulation. I'm also interested in the question of the impact of energy efficiency on physical and mental health conditions. Finally, I also study the question of aging in an energy transition context. So in this paper, written with Sondes Kahuli, we decide to explore how French households react to energy price fluctuations according to their level of income. We decided to study this question because Sandes Kaoli was a scientific coordinator on a project about fuel poverty, and she decided to propose to deep these questions. So in order to estimate the sensitivity of French households to energy prices, we based our analysis on a French panel dataset, the EUC database. We also introduce new information in this database, more specifically about energy prices. To address the issue in these papers, we also need methodological frameworks, and we propose to use panel threshold regression models to empirically test the sensitivity of households to energy price fluctuations and to analyze overlap between their income and fuel poverty profiles. We identified as the main results two groups households, and these two groups households are different according to their income level. We can separate fuel poor households to non-fuel poor households, and fuel poor households as the highest elasticity price. So we suggest to policymakers to stress on this specific public. Moreover, thanks to the results obtained in this research and the prize we obtained with this article, we now are able to deep new questions, in particular questions related to the quality of the housing and the deprivations of heating in the dwelling and the impact of this deprivation on health conditions. So many perspectives are now possible, and we also, thanks to this research and to this prize, extend our international networks. So thank you.
It is my great pleasure to virtually present the 2020 award for the Campbell Watkins Energy Journal Best Paper in the Energy Journal. This award is given annually to the best paper in the IAEE's flagship academic journal. It is being given to the best open submission paper in the regular 2020 issues of the Energy Journal. The selection committee was made up of Mika Goto, Ying Fan and myself, and we really enjoyed reading the candidate papers for this award, which were of very high quality. We selected the best paper on the basis of relevance for policymakers, scientific quality and originality. We are delighted to present the 2020 award for the best paper in the Energy Journal to Dakshina De Silva, Anita Schiller and Robert McCumb for their paper entitled Do Localities Benefit from Natural Resource Extraction? You can watch a short video where Anita Schiller introduces their excellent paper. On behalf of the International Association for Energy Economics, very well done, and thank you for submitting your paper to the Energy Journal.
Hello, I'm Anita Schiller, along with co-authors Robert McComb and Dakshina De Silva. I'm honored to receive the prestigious the Campbell Watkins Energy Journal Best Paper Award for 2020. Our research was motivated by two basic observations. The first observation was the oil and gas boom in the state of Texas since 2009. Prior to 2009, annual crude oil production had been in long-term decline in Texas. From 2010 to 2015, annual crude oil production nearly tripled. This boom in oil and gas production in Texas was due to horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing technologies. Secondly, we observed that economic research in the 1990s consistently produced evidence that resource-dependent economies had slower long-term growth than more diversified economies, a phenomenon called the natural resource curse. Most researchers concluded that natural resource-driven economic booms draw resources away from non-booming export activities. This leads to higher prices of non-tradables and contributes to greater regional specialization. Most of the research in this area has focused on cross-country comparisons. We take a different approach, and our analysis extends the previous research on the question of the economics of resource endowments in several ways. Unlike most of the previous research that considers total regional employment, we investigate employment changes in terms of regional industrial composition. This is important since one explanation for the resource curse is regional specialization and the reallocation of labor towards the booming industry. We also estimate the effects on both median and per capita county income for comparative and interpretive purposes. Lastly, our research also analyzed the effects of the oil boom on property tax bases and public school finance at the school district level. In our study, we used only the state of Texas as the reason for analysis. Because of this, we can exploit the control comparison at the county level to identify the localized impact of oil and gas production on certain outcomes like employment, personal income, and public school finance. So why this paper is important? As far as we know, this paper is the first to investigate the economic effects of both oil and gas extraction in relatively small geographies like counties and school districts, and also to consider the effects of natural resource extraction on public finances. We believe that increased resource mobility within small geographies should accelerate the economic impacts of a sharp expansion in natural resource extraction. It should also help identifying the ingredients that contribute to resource curse over the longer term within a relatively shorter time. Our results do not find the short-term response of county employment to the oil and gas boom to be predictive of resource curse over the longer term. We see increases in per capita county personal income. However, given that we find small effects on county median income, it is likely that gains in personal income have been more concentrated at higher income levels. As expected, we find that the value of county property tax bases increases with increases in production levels. Although we find no evidence that school finances were affected by oil and gas revenues over the course of the analysis, school districts appear to benefit from higher levels of oil and gas activity in the shale oil boom period. So that is a summary of our paper. However, please note that in this paper, we do not study the environmental cost of production activity to the areas in which the activity occurs. Again, as members of IAEE, we are delighted and humbled to receive this prestigious award. Also, the recognition received by the Energy Journal and the IAEE's Energy Economics Education Foundation will be invaluable to our professional development. Thank you very much.
It is my great pleasure to virtually present the 2020 award for the best paper in our Economics of Energy and Environmental Policy Journal, or EEP. This award is given to the best paper in the IAEE's Academic Policy Journal. This award is made to the best paper among every 20 or so open submissions in EEP and covers papers published over the period 2017 to 2020. The selection committee was made up of Anna Neumann and Niels Hendrik von der Veer and myself, and we really enjoyed reading the candidate papers for this award, which were of very high quality. We selected the best paper on the basis of relevance for policymakers, scientific quality, and originality. We are delighted to present the 2020 award for the best paper in the Economics of Energy and Environmental Policy to Art Frass and Sophie Miller for their paper entitled Measuring Energy Efficiency, Accounting for the Hidden Costs of Product Failure. You can watch a short video where Sophie Miller introduces their excellent paper. On behalf of the International Association for Energy Economics, very well done, and thank you for submitting your paper to the Economics of Energy and Environmental Policy.
Hi, I'm Sophie Miller. On behalf of myself and my co-author, Art Frass, thank you for selecting our paper on energy efficiency standards for this award. In the spirit of our paper's subject matter, I'll try to keep my remarks as efficient as possible. First, I'd like to thank those who contributed to our research. starting, of course, with my co-author Art Frost for initiating this project. His experience in this field and curiosity to learn more were enormous assets for our research. I am also very appreciative of the George Washington University Regulatory Studies Center, where I was employed while we researched and wrote this paper. The center fostered an environment very supportive of scholarly research in this area, for which we are very grateful. We initially undertook this project because we were aware of various data that indicated an increase in problems with new appliances, including court settlements and agency enforcement actions. These data pointed to potential issues with energy efficiency standards for appliances, indicating that the long-term costs for consumers may not be adequately captured by agency ex-ante analyses. By assembling these data and building models to replicate consumers' at-home experiences with these appliances, including repairs, we wanted to see if there is a systematic story and whether, as a result, there is an issue that ought to be addressed in evaluating changes to energy efficiency standards for appliances. Our findings ultimately emphasize the importance of life cycle and sensitivity analyses. Our paper supports the need to assess benefits and costs over the entire lifetime of the appliance to capture the burden of repairs and modifications associated with the new standards. In addition, our analysis suggests the importance of modeling actual consumer behavior, rather than relying on averages from engineering studies. The distribution of in-home consumer experience may be very different from engineering studies suggesting overall social benefits. Our goal for this paper was to be quantitatively rigorous and policy relevant, which is why Economics of Energy and Environmental Policy was an ideal publication outlet for this paper. In closing, we extend our thanks both to the International Association for Energy Economics for this award and to EEEP's reviewers. Both the award and the comments prove that someone other than ourselves actually read the paper, which of course is the highest honor of all. So thanks very much.
Greetings, everybody. My name is Colin Vance. I serve on the editorial board of the IAEE USAEE Working Paper Series, and I'm also on the committee to select the best working paper. And I'm very pleased to present our selection for the year 2019. It's a paper by Kenneth Gillingham, Sebastian Hood, and Arthur A. Van Bentham. It's titled Consumer Myopia in Vehicle Purchases, Evidence from a Natural Experiment. It's a very fine paper. I will let Sebastian summarize it. He can do a much better job than I can of that in his subsequent acceptance speech. But suffice it to note, I strongly recommend you check it out. Evidence of its fine scholarship is also given by its subsequent publication in the American Economic Journal, Economic Policy. So you can check it out there as well. And it was a pleasure to read, and so I'm very happy to bestow this award. And in closing, let's hope next time around that we can all meet in person and enjoy this event together. Until then, I wish you well.
Hello, everybody. I'm here today to accept virtually our award for the best working paper for the year 2019. Thanks to the pandemic, we have to do that 1 year later and online. But on behalf of myself, Sebastian Wood, professor at Grenoble de Management, and Kenneth Gillingham, professor at Yale University, and Arthur Van Bentham, professor at University of Pennsylvania, Wharton, would like to say thank you to the Association of Energy Economics, and thank you for everyone that has read the paper or will do so. So just a quick note for us, it was very exciting to receive that award. We think that the working paper series from the USAEE and the IAEE is very important. This is an opportunity to disseminate our research not only among other researchers, but among policymakers and practitioners, which are also very involved in the association. So once again, for us, this is very important. This is why we do research, to be able to reach out to a broad audience and hopefully to be able to contribute to policymaking. So that award is important for us. A quick note on the paper. So the title is Consumer Myopia in Vehicle Purchases, Evidence from a Natural Experiment. And the idea of the paper is pretty simple. We are using a natural experiment to estimate to which extent consumers value lifetime energy costs. Our context is the US car market. And we are using an event that occurred back in 2012. And this event is the following. The EPA did an audit of fuel economy ratings for two manufacturers, Hyundai and Kia, and they found for a subset of models, the fuel economy ratings estimate were overestimated, okay, were too large. So those two manufacturers had to change the fuel economy ratings for a subset of their model. So when we saw that, it was in the article of the New York Times, Ken, Arthur, and me, we said, that's pretty interesting. That's a pretty clean natural experiment to see what will be the market response to a change in information related to fuel economy. And that before has never been done. Okay, so this is the first estimate of the market response to a change in information in the EPA fuel economy ratings. So we went down and say, okay, let's collect data, market data, before and after that event, and estimate what is the market response. This is what we did. So this is the first part of the paper, and we are finding, using micro-level transaction price, that there is a small decrease in price for vehicles that were affected. So this is a 1.2% reduction in transaction price. Now the question is that a big or small effect? So that's the second part of the paper, where we translate that estimate in how much consumers value, on average, fuel economy information, fuel economy rating. And what we are finding is that consumers undervalue fuel economy rating information based on this natural experiment. And that is somewhat of a surprising result. Well, it depends how much you read the literature and which part of the literature you are reading. But if you are aware of the recent literature, other estimates of consumers' valuation of fuel economy have found that on average consumers are just okay. They don't undervalue, they don't overvalue. It seems that they are doing the right calculation. Our estimates suggest that there is much more undervaluation than other estimates. We go in great length explaining why this is the case, but one of the important reasons is that other papers have relied on other sources of variation, namely gas prices. We were able to look at the role of information. So gas prices versus information might have different impact. And there are also differences in the way the approaches, econometric approaches that are used, etc. And the fact that this is the used car market, in our case this is the new car market, okay, that also might lead to differences. Long story short, our estimate, okay, is providing new fuel to the debate. This is not a topic that is about to be closed, and we're pretty excited by our finding, how robust it was, and the fact that it has also pretty important policy implication. Again, thank you very much to the association for the award, and on my behalf, I would like to thank my co-authors once again for their patience and their hard work on this project.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure to present the Marcel Boiteux Best International Energy Economics Book Award. The Marcel Boiteux Best International Energy Economics Book Award is named in recognition of Marcel Boiteux's contribution to fundamental energy economic theory and its application. I had the great pleasure to propose the creation of this award to IAEE Council in Auckland in 2020. For the very few who don't know him, Marcel Boiteux, born in May 1922, had a very rich career. He wrote over 50 scientific articles and created two key pieces of modern energy economics: the marginal pricing for peaks and second best pricing for natural monopolies. He was also well connected to the international economic community. Marcel Boiteux himself applied his new theory and became Director for Economics at the French utility EDF in 1958, then Deputy Director General, and President from 1967 to 1987. His theories are the basic for price for airline, for Uber, for Airbnb and others with the price ticketing system. I have the pleasure to announce, ladies and gentlemen, that President Boiteux is with us today. President Boiteux, the floor is yours.
C'est un honneur pour moi qu'au cours de ma 100e année, ce prix qui porte mon nom soit devenu un prix international.
Thank you very much, President Boiteux. In his message in French, President Boiteux congratulates the winner of this award, and he said, "It is an honor for me that in my 100 years, this award that bears my name has now become international." If I may add, ladies and gentlemen, Christophe Bonnery, I would add that it is about time. And here is the award. The 2021 Marcel Boiteux Best International Energy Economics Books Award goes to a book whose title is Planetary Economics, Energy, Climate Change, and the Three Domains of Sustainable Development. The authors of these books are three: Michael Grubb, Jean-Charles Hourcade, and Carsten Neuhoff. I'm pleased to leave the floor to these authors.
I'd like to start by thanking the IAEE on behalf of my co-authors, Jean-Charles Hourcade and Carsten Neuhoff, this very welcome recognition for a book that's had a long gestation and some years in development. My relations with IAEE and collaboration with Jean-Charles almost 30 years when I migrated from sciences through energy systems engineering to economics. It's great to find the IAEE welcoming a range of perspectives, providing the forum for engagement, learning of diverse strands of energy and economic analysis, for me culminating with a term on the IAEE Council in the late 90s. The book itself really emanated from a decade of work after the millennium, which combined time at Cambridge Faculty of Economics with a role as chief economist at the UK Carbon Trust. It's to Jean-Charles that we owe the observation of a deep connection also between our work and the work of Marcel Boiteux and his colleagues, Gerard Debreu and Kenneth Arrow, obviously which culminated in the Arrow-Debreu theorem, and today we post on the book website a short essay on the links to some of Marcel Boiteux's work. Now, despite the book being a decade or more in the making, it was really only in the final year that there were a couple of major aha moments in which really big picture things fell into place. And I want to give you a flavor of one of them in a single slide, which really reflects the sheer range of the climate energy problem and the policy implications. Energy involves many different actors, processes behaving in different ways. And so what we tried to do was to map out a little bit those different levels and scales of actors. Now, the previous couple of decades have seen a rise of behavioral economics and organizational theories, which turned to be highly relevant, particularly for energy uses. And the realities of consumption involves a lot of habit, short-termism, inattention, risk aversion, and so forth, as captured in behavioral organizational economic theories and evidence. That makes our second domain, the next level, the economic optimization, most familiar to economists, often with representative agents, rational expectations, and indeed captured in the work of the great masters in the 1950s on neoclassical welfare economics. But we're also trying to transform whole systems for deep decarbonization over long timescale, new technologies, practices, business models, networks, a domain of transformation and non-marginal changes in whole systems, the big role for innovation, infrastructure, institutional developments, as captured in evolutionary and institutional economic theories. Now, we give those a simple shorthand, satisfying, optimizing, and transforming domains of behavior, and ask then the question, what policies would those imply? Well, clearly, where you're dealing with agents that are optimizing according to relative prices, we know that markets and getting the prices right is absolutely crucial. For example, the role of carbon pricing. Jack up prices high enough, you may also kick satisfying consumers into taking notice of their energy wastage. Unfortunately, the evidence often is they'll vote the government out of office first. It certainly is politically tricky. And there's evidence that standards and engagement can be more effective, indeed sometimes more efficient ways of addressing those kind of behaviors. But for transforming, one really needs also strategic investment in the kind of innovation, infrastructure, and other things required. And we brought this together finally when the IAEE invited me to give a closing keynote at the Groningen conference. And somewhat provocatively, I called it Different, Therefore Equal, with a question mark, also because there's complex relations, lots to discuss and debate. And it's for that reason, really, that we're so delighted also that there's a few master's courses now that have been launched around the book. And this prize from the IAEA is additional welcome recognition for many to engage in these ways of thinking and think about the relationships in these domains and policies. So to conclude, it's been a long and fascinating intellectual journey aided by the IAEE, all that it helps to bring together, which we're very grateful. Oh, and if you want to know those other aha insights, maybe you'll have to take a glance at the book.
This concludes the 2021 IAEE Award ceremony. I hope to see you next year in person during the 2022 IAEE International Conference, which will take place in Tokyo. Thank you, and again, congratulations to the winners.